Cindy, how did you find carnivore?
Well, my sister actually researched different diets after her daughter was diagnosed with fatty liver disease, and she found keto. And she had mentioned it repeatedly. And about 3 months later, I jumped on board a very strict 20 total carb or less keto. And that was in September of 2020. And within 22 months, I had lost 100 pounds. And that was no exercising and just sitting there and eating the right foods, staying very strict, 20 total carbs or less daily. I had been on blood pressure medicine since I was a teenager. And after 50 years, I'm 67 years old. After 50 years of being on them, I was able to stop. In fact, my last blood pressure check at the doctor was 116 over 80. So I was like, yes, and this is no medication for the last few years. But I've pretty much maintained that 100-pound loss. I was, my A1C was 5.8 when I first started keto, and it's been holding very steady at 5.4. All my blood work is great. My doctor tells me your blood work's better than mine. And I'm like, what does that tell you? She knows how I eat. Um, I still stay very meat heavy keto, incorporating keto chow. And that's a staple for me. But it's like, I don't know, I don't understand how anybody can say this is not a sustainable way of living. If you look at my videos with what I eat for the week, my plate is mostly meat and eggs or just meat. We don't have vegetables in the house. When we go out, I might have a salad, or my husband has broccoli. He's on board. He's a type 1 diabetic. And, people say, find your why that makes you cry. It's him. He is the why for me to keep going.
Right.
And he's
So you introduced it to him?
he started about a couple weeks after I did.
Right.
He had gone through a bout of depression. He had did a real bad fall back in 2018, and then he broke his right heel, his left ankle, and his left wrist when he fell, and had to quit his job of 30 years that he loved. And he said after a couple weeks on keto, that depression was gone. He was back to being his own self. He's always been one to just not sit still. His metabolism has always been kicking. He's always on the go. Well, there for a while, he couldn't be when he was injured, but then when he could, he didn't want to. But it's this way of eating has just been such an amazing thing for us. It does help that he came on board,
Yeah,
but
it's always easier when you're both doing it, right?
right. Well, when I first started, I was the sole cook in our house. We lived in New Hampshire at the time. We're in Kentucky, but we had 7 people living in our house. I did all the grocery shopping. They gave me money to help out. It was my kids and grandkids, but they didn't eat the way I ate. But I cooked for them. If they wanted their potatoes, I cooked them. If they wanted rice, I cooked it. That didn't mean I had to eat it. So it's I find it really odd when I hear that. It's so hard being the only one in the house. I guess my determination was so great to better myself. I was at almost 280 pounds after having had gastric bypass in 2007. At almost 300, I lost about 90 after that surgery. And then eating the way they tell you to eat, for a while it was okay. Then it was like the weight started creeping back up. And I said I had gotten up to almost 280 when I started keto. And it was crazy. That surgery was probably the worst mistake I ever made. And I would not, not medical advice or anything, but I would never suggest anybody do that unless it's an absolute last resort. As after that, go ahead.
Oh, no, so just on that, yeah, kind of if you start putting the weight back on, following the way they tell you to eat, it feels like, what have I gone through all this
Right.
trauma for just to get something that only works temporarily?
You're right. I mean, they tell you to avoid the white potatoes, but eat sweet potatoes. Avoid white rice and eat brown rice. Eat the dark breads, eat the whole grain pastas, all the things. And knowing now what we know, all of that still has carbs. It doesn't matter. And I'm like, you know, and I did everything they asked me to do. Everything I changed, everything. Even for some of the other family members, whether they liked it or not, I switched because I did the grocery shopping. But, it was like, whew, it was crazy. But when I started putting that weight back on, I'm like, this isn't good. That the worst part is 2 years after the surgery, I started developing hypoglycemic episodes. If I would eat something carby and didn't have enough protein to offset it, my blood sugars would drop. And I was not diabetic. I was never diagnosed diabetic. As we know, I was pre diabetic at 5.8 A1C, but my doctors weren't concerned. In fact, I asked them after I started keto, I asked my doctor to do an A1C check because I don't remember ever having one done or not knowing what it was or what have you. And when I went in to discuss the blood work, I had already lost 20 pounds. I had just started keto. He said, I'm not worried about you. You're doing what you need to do. So it was great. I've never had a doctor that was not in agreement with what I was doing. And I feel so blessed because I hear so many horror stories with people not finding a doctor that will listen.
Mm.
It's
So
tough.
how hard was it for you to kind of, especially with cooking for everyone else, at the start, where you are cooking the potatoes or the rice or the pasta or whatever for other people, was it difficult at the beginning to just kind of abstain, or were you just like, I'm doing this, I don't care, I'm gonna ignore it all?
That's it. I had 3 months to mill this about from the time my sister started throwing ideas and throwing Dr. Berry videos at me and throwing all this stuff. And I'm like, you know, I talked to my husband at length and I said, I'm just going to do this if for no other reason than to shut her up. And I say it all the time. And I love her dearly. And I have thanked her repeatedly because to me, she saved my life. She said, you did all the work. But when it started, I didn't find it difficult at all because for 3 months I milled this idea about, and I thought about it. By the time I actually started, my mindset was in the right place. I was bound and determined to make it work and be successful. If I set my mind to doing something, I do it. So even though I was cooking for everybody and getting the things at the store they wanted, whether it was Doritos or chips or whatever, it was always around the house. I had up until May a real thing for Chalk Zero. And it's good. I mean, it's a clean ingredients. It's as much as it can be, and keto approved. And I haven't had any since May. So I stopped even opening the text messages or the emails and everything else. So I take that as a true win.
Right. So, I'm not sure of what that one is because maybe that's a brand that's just in the US. What Chalk Zero is?
It's like chocolates, but it's better ingredients, the sweeteners instead of sugar, and all that thing.
It's
So it's
like
it's a
Coke Zero,
better thing. Like what?
like Coke Zero
Yeah, well, you know.
for chocolate. Um, I see. So your sister had given you the idea for eating this way,
Yes,
because her daughter was had fatty liver disease,
correct.
right? Is her fatty liver disease gone?
Right away.
Right.
Within months, it was gone, if not sooner.
Wow.
And my
Wow.
sister, she didn't have much weight to lose. She was just barely starting to have a little knee pain. She's always been like the healthiest of us four sisters. We have two other sisters. And but she was just starting to have a little knee pain. And within days or a week it was gone. So it's like the 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 number of health benefits that it's just incredible with eating this way, whether it's keto, ketovore, carnivore. I've heard such a wide variety with doing my interviews that it's like it's incredible to me, and it's so inspiring for anybody. So
It's
yeah, I
it's just so amazing that all these conditions that we're led to believe are lifelong, you're never gonna get rid of them, they've just
Mhm.
gotta be managed. You can turn them off with the like turning on a light switch, you know?
Yep. The only one you can't is the type 1 diabetes. You can maintain it, you can control it better, you can use less insulin, which my husband has been doing, but there is no cure for that. And just like he has a movement disorder with symptoms similar to Parkinson's, he's had deep brain stimulation surgery for it to control the motion, the movement. And he just actually had a battery replacement because he has two leads in his brain that are attached to a battery in his chest. That battery was just replaced with a new battery and a different manufacturer than the one he had before. And it's incredible. The movement is so much less. And without this surgery, this man can't walk. I've seen him have to turn it off to have an MRI done. They said, "Can you walk down to get the test?" He said, "Nope." It's so because it's a progressive thing. It just doesn't get better. Ketovore. He eats the same way I do. Whatever I cook, that's what he eats. Unless we go out, then he always has broccoli. That's his favorite thing, over and above anything else. But he's uh, he's just maintained it so well. It's I admire him so much as I see the improvements both in his diabetes and the way he handles this disorder. He's incredible.
Wow. So, can I ask about the disorder that's related to Parkinson's? Is that like dystonia or something? Or
It is cervical dystonia. It's a
wow.
lot of twitching of the neck. It affects your eyes. It affects your mouth. Um, if he looks down, he's this god awful look on his face, and he can't help it. It's like it's just part of it.
And it's like he gets locked into a position or something.
No, he doesn't get locked into any position. It's constant movement of some sort with his neck and his eyes, and sometimes he has a hard time keeping his eyes open. Um, so therefore, he doesn't drive anymore. But you know, it has the surgery has helped immensely, and this new battery even more so. But his whole outlook on the whole thing, when he was first diagnosed, he could not stop. His neck wouldn't stop twitching, and He had such a positive outlook. I would have lost my mind if it was me. He has done amazing. And it's just, he's so incredible. He's got a much better story. But no, I have gotten off the blood pressure meds, no longer pre diabetic. I did have both of my knees replaced in 2014, 2017. That one got infected. That was rough. I feel possibly if I had known and started all this way of eating back then, maybe I wouldn't have had to have them replaced. But my knees were really bad, riddled with arthritis, bone on bone. They tried everything first. But I did have arthritis in my back, and I don't have any back issues at all anymore. So that's a win also. I can't even tell you how good that feels. And I'm back to doing something. I started bowling when I was 9 years old. When I was in my 40s, I had to stop. My knees were so bad. My back was bothering me all the time. Obviously, I was heavy and heavier. And 20 years later, I started back to bowling, and I love it. It's been 2 years now, and first 2 years, we bowled 3 days a week in the leagues. This year, we're doing two. That way, we can do things on the weekends and not just, oh, we got to be back for bowling. We can't do this. So, but yeah.
Oh, wow. So just so I get the timeline correct, so
Mhm.
you had the knee replacements and then your changed way of eating happened after that, yeah?
Right. I had
Right.
the first knee replaced in 14, the second one in 17, which I
Mhm.
had to have three surgeries after, two after the original one.
That was the infection.
Right. I had a staph infection and another infection that was growing in my leg. And there was a spot that wasn't healing. And I had a wound vac in place. I was on a wound vac. I had IV antibiotics for 6 weeks that I was doing at home. And then 8 months of oral antibiotics after that. It was just a nightmare. There were times that my surgeon immobilized my leg, so I couldn't do anything with it. I couldn't go to therapy. I couldn't do anything. And then finally, after the third surgery, everything started healing. But that was in 18. I didn't start keto till September 2020, when everybody in the world is upside down because of that stuff. And I was just, the determination was just there, and to not have to be on the blood pressure medicines for me was huge. Years ago, my doctor tried to, oh, well, let's, I think you can stop taking this now. Well, I had been on it for so long, I was afraid not to. I said, how about if we cut it in half? And it was already a low dose at that point. I said, how about if we cut it in half and then keep an eye on it? And within no time, I was like, I don't need it. That's it. We're done. And it's
Was the
been
doctor
wonderful.
surprised?
Um, Not really, because like I said, he was totally behind me in my decisions. When I had started back in '09, when after my gastric bypass in '07, when I started with the hypoglycemic episodes, I did my own research and I found this blog of people that have had gastric bypass that have suffered the same hypoglycemic episodes. Some had suffered brain damage because of them. Some had their pancreas removed because of them. I mean, just so many things. And it was all a result of this surgery. And it was like, so I went into him and to my doctor, and I said, I think I have hyperinsulinemic hypoglycemia, is what it's called. And he's like, what? he had he had never heard of it in terms like that before. So I told him how I found it. He right away got his computer out and researched it. he found the same blog that I had found, and he read some of the testimonials on there and some of the stories, and he said, "I think you might be right." So what I had discovered through all that, and I mean, I loved cereal. This is like, whoa, that was. I tried to find one that was so low carb, and this is way before keto. This way before. There was none. There's none. But I realized that I could not eat any carbs, many carbs, if I didn't have enough protein in me. So, like to this day, if I go out and have a salad, I get extra meat in that salad. It's like, it's not just the salad. It's like we have this one, we have Culver's. I don't know if you have that restaurant. And we'll go there after bowling sometimes on Thursday nights, and I'll get a chicken salad with extra chicken in it, with extra meat. And it's like, okay. And it's like more chicken than salad. It's great. It's good, but you know, it's like realizing these things for yourself because you are your own advocate. You're your own best advocate. And having a doctor that listens and supports your decisions is huge. And he was like, every time I see him after that, this was still when we lived in New Hampshire, he would tell me, he said, "You've helped me out so much with so many different patients by finding that." He said, "I have so many people that come in with the same complaint." And it's like, where's my copay? I want to get paid for this.
It's nice to hear a doctor say something like that. I mean, you could
Mhm.
look at it 2 ways. You could go, "Well, I'm a little bit scared now because the doctor's admitting that they didn't know." But I think the positive way to look at that is to say the doctor is admitting that they lacked some knowledge and that they were willing to learn,
Oh, he was
openly.
great.
And the problem, I think, is with healthcare generally is most doctors are not willing to admit that. The
I
ego
agree.
is in the way too much.
I totally agree. And it's like he would, like I said, he was just so accepting and so in agreement with what I was doing and just so supportive. When my husband and I, when we talked about moving, it's like, can we get him to move with us? Because he was that good. And it's like, we tried to get him. So we're going to smuggle him in a suitcase. We're going to do something to get him to come with us. And, obviously that didn't work, but, but he was
So
good.
yeah. So what's a typical day of eating look like for you?
We typically eat our first meal around 12, 1, 2 o'clock. And like today, I had brisket and eggs. I had some leftover brisket that I heated up in the air fryer. And my husband it was leftover day. He got something out of the refrigerator and he heated that up and had some brisket with that. Um, Tonight, I have a pot of chili that's mostly ground beef and some spices on the stove. So that's that. But usually it's bacon and eggs. And I found a great recipe for egg white bread. And up until now, I have not found one that's not choky or something. But this is fantastic and it's very, very soft. It's great. And we'll have that sometimes with butter. Um, it varies. Like pork sausage sometimes.
So do you ever eat seafood?
I do. I
Mm.
like shrimp and cod, and I don't eat lobster. My husband loves it. But yeah, like scallops, shrimp, that kind of thing. Yeah, on
You
occasion.
you're not into sardines?
No, you know better than that. You have been on my channel. No. And I even asked my husband. I love tuna. I can do tuna. And people tell me sardines taste like tuna. I'm not even going to try it. Not, no.
Sardines don't taste like tuna.
Thank you.
I'm not a
Because
fan of sardines, but I can eat them. But they definitely don't taste like tuna.
no, see, people have been lying to me, Dave, trying to get me to eat them. And I'm like, no, no. People mention it in my chats, and I'm like, no, not, not happening. When we go to the stores, I'll ask my husband, and we'll go through Costco. We'll go past the aisle with all the canned foods, meats, and stuff. Do you want to get some sardines? He's like, no. Like, right answer. No way.
So, um, you were cooking for, you mentioned 7 people. So, have any of those people gone, "You know what? I think the way you're eating looks kinda interesting. I'm gonna give that a try."
I wish. I really wish. I have an older son who is very ill. He's had more than 20 surgeries on his stomach and intestines. He moved up here from Texas up to New Hampshire from Texas in 2009. He was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. He's had majority of his colon removed. He finally got back on track and had found that he's a plumber by trade. He's on disability now, but he found a job. He got his license for New Hampshire, and then he found out he has Crohn's. And when you don't have your large intestines and Crohn's attacks your small intestines, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here. But he's had so many surgeries, and I've sent him so many videos to watch on people that have Crohn's in remission by going carnivore. I've sent him, I've tried talking to him. Like I said, I've sent him videos. My younger son, he's pretty heavy. He's active. He works 2 jobs. He's very much overweight. I think he was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. He's tried keto. It was successful. And then he's like, I can't afford this, mom. And, he struggles money wise. So I'm like, you can do this with hot dogs and bologna or ground beef, but it's like, it's him and 3 kids and his girlfriend, and he's the only one working. So it's tight. Things are tight. One time when we were in New Hampshire, we took him shopping, and he stood in the middle of the grocery store and was bawling because we bought enough meat to fill their freezer and their cheeses and stuff for their refrigerator. And he just cried. He said, Mom, he said, I can't thank you enough. And I'm like, you're working hard. It's not like you're not doing anything and you're not trying, because you are. So, I just pray one day that they'll both really get on board, because I've set the example. I can't do anything more than that. I can't make them do it. But yeah, and
Yeah. It, the like you say, you've set the example, it it's that goes in. It's just a matter of when it gets to the point that they decide, I've got to
right.
knuckle down on this, you know?
I mean, my sons are grown men. My one son is a grandfather, the one that's so sick. He's 44. My other son is 43. They got to figure it out. And I didn't figure it out till I was in my 60s. So, it's like, but they know I'm here. If they have questions, all they got to do is ask. And
Y Yeah. Yeah, like you say, everyone, it's not necessarily something that, most people will get to early on in life, most people get to a point where they just feel like, "I need to make a change." and I was nearly 50 when I finally decided I've got to get serious about this. So
Right. It's hard. When you think about all the stuff that you got to give up. And seriously, I mean, that can be one of the hardest things and the biggest deterrent for a lot of people. I have talked to so many people about keto, not even as strict as carnivore, keto. And they're like, I can't give up potatoes. I can't give up pasta. I said, oh, I got you covered there. Chris Cooking Nashville makes mashed potatoes, carnivore style, and they're good. I've made them before. But it's always, I can't give this up. I can't give that up. And then it's like, you can't or you won't. There's two totally different things.
I think often what happens is people don't really know that when they move to this way of eating, that their whole perspective on food is going to change. It might not be immediate, but it will happen in
Right.
that you don't feel you have to eat those things anymore. You feel less need for variety.
Right.
You feel less need to treat food as entertainment, right?
Hmm.
But it takes some time, but yeah.
It does. And for some people, that still doesn't go, which is why a lot of people will start keto and stay keto. I've gone more, like I said, more meat heavy in the beginning. I wasn't, but I was very strict, especially the first 90 days. I didn't incorporate any sweeteners except my diet soda. I never gave that up, but it's been successful for me. What I've done, and I mean, losing the 100 pounds was huge for me. When I got under two, I was like, yay! I hadn't been there for years. And to maintain that for 3 years, I've never in my life done that. And the roller coaster that we're all on at some point to lose weight, and then you gain that much more back, and then some, and you start out all over again. I mean, there was so many diets. I don't even know. Weight Watchers, Atkins, so many different things. And they all work until you get bored and they stop. And then if you lose 20, you're going to gain 30. And it's just constant. It's that constant roller coaster. So either way, it's how determined are you to better your health is basically where it's at.
If someone came to you and they've got some weight to lose, or perhaps they've got high blood pressure, they want to try and get under control, and they've seen your success, how would you recommend they get started eating this way?
You know, I hear so many people say, empty your house of everything. I didn't do that because I wasn't the only one on it. And that's the story for a lot of people. They're not the only one in their home. So that's not realistic. I would say how much how determined are you to be healthier? Weight loss is an added benefit, but reversing the diabetes and getting off blood pressure medicine and all that, those are important. The side effects from having those things are vast. And you know, I would tell them to take it as easy as possible, keep it very simple. And like I would, in the beginning, I was eating lunch meat and cheese or cheese sticks and pieces of pepperoni or stuff like that. That would be my lunches. And it worked, you know? And then when I would cook dinner for everyone in the house, the protein that I cooked was something I could eat. If I wanted a vegetable, it's one that I could eat. And they ate and then for them, whatever else. So I would have to tell them, keep it simple, don't overthink it, and keep it affordable. Those things are what's going to make it sustainable if you have the determination and the mindset in place, and eventually your why is there. because for me, like I said, that's my husband. But yeah, those things are so crucial to keeping it successful and keeping it sustainable.
Nice. So Cindy, how can people find you on YouTube?
Well, YouTube, I am Cindy DeManch, 3839, just like on the screen. And I'm on Facebook. I have a keto support page on Facebook, as well as my homepage. Um, I'm on Instagram at CDEM512. Rarely there, but I have it. And that's pretty much it. Most of the time, I'm on YouTube. I do live streams every Wednesday and with a guest every Friday, unless I'm out of town, and put out videos on showing what we eat for the week. And my husband's gotten involved, and he's like, he calls himself my guinea pig, and he loves it. He absolutely eats it up, and it's just a lot of fun.
Nice. Well,
Mhm.
I'll link to your YouTube and your other socials in the show notes.
Well, thank
Cindy,
you.
thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate that.